That sounds good. All right, I started recording, so we can also have some notes afterwards. I know a lot of people are going to miss it because planned this only like a few hours ago. Um, but there's going to be a space tonight as well, and we'll have more show and tell opportunities. But you want to go ahead and start screen sharing, and we'll uh, we'll go through multiple episodes because I think people are going to keep streaming in as well. All right.
Is that coming through?
Yeah, give me a signal that y'all are seeing the screen. Like a thumbs up. You don't not request to speak. Okay. Okay, cool, cool. Yeah. Okay, go ahead and talk us through what are we looking at?
All right, we're looking at a show generator that is like a blockchain version of Shark Tank, um, but it's the pitcher comes and he submits his pitch. He describes himself and he describes his pitch. An AI agent essentially is created for the pitcher, so he has an AI version of himself, so he can respond in real time to the judges, and they can have a back and forth when the simulation runs. So the things you see floating past there are the actors that are in the show and some representations of the different scenes, set locations that are in the show. And the pitch is variable, so you kind of just type your pitch into the box right now. I have one prepared that I'll paste in.
Wait, so like in terms of the pitch, imagine this being kind of like the partnership portal. We already have something kind of I'll put a link in the chat. So this is kind of a future, like you're pitching the AI agents, like for investment or partnerships, stuff like that.
Here's the diagram I'm going to be going back and forth for. And right now I'm showing you the step one here where you tell it what the pitch is. Your pitch could be a text write-up, or it could include images in the future, some short videos. And also you tell it about yourself, the pitcher, because you're actually going to be a character in the show. There's going to be an AI version of the person that pitches. And then you review the pitch, make sure there's no prompt engineering going on, and that's when you create that version. And then with those ingredients, we have our show, we have our judges, just like Shark Tank. We got a host, we have the AI version of the pitcher. We call him AI Tom because the guy's name was Tom Bailey up there, and all of his pitch information. That's when the simulation is ran. And after that, you either approve the simulation or reject it. But if it looks good, it's showtime. You publish it, and that's the creation flow there. Now I'm going to come back and talk about this more in detail, but let's see one of the shows. Here is the pitch that's going in there. It's a pitch about a graves, NFT graveyard thing, and I'll just play it back from here because this is actually one I generated earlier.
Welcome back. Jin is here with a graveyard?
I'm seeking 800K for 12% of dead stones. The first NFT graveyard for fallen crypto projects.
A graveyard for dead projects. That's actually hilarious.
Each plot is an NFT where holders can memorialize rugged projects, failed ICOs, anything.
Yo, we can finally put Luna to rest proper.
Revenue model?
Plot sales, tribute collection fees, and expansion into new graveyards as they fill up.
Like a blockchain-based urban dictionary of crypto history. Interesting.
A crypto graveyard is quite unique. What inspired this?
Every failed project has a story worth preserving, even if it's just for the memes.
But aren't you worried about misuse?
Look, if you give users a shovel, they'll probably dig something inappropriate.
And you're okay with that?
That's part of crypto culture. As long as it's not harmful, let people have fun.
It's certainly a different approach to historical preservation.
History doesn't have to be boring. Watch as I place this tribute NFT at the Luna Memorial. The plot's prestige increases.
How do you handle content moderation?
DAO voters can flag inappropriate content with automated filtering for obvious cases.
Show me the tribute collection mechanics.
Weekly automated collection with 70% to plot owners, 30% to DO Treasury.
Fam about to make bank off them BitConnect memorials.
This is simultaneously ridiculous and brilliant.
We're preserving crypto culture one tombstone at a time.
It's like crypto meets $1 million homepage meets cemetery.
The historical preservation aspect is actually valuable.
Imagine the memes we're gonna see on them tombstones.
Revenue model is solid if they can drive adoption.
Could become the go-to memorial for crypto projects.
Moderation will be crucial, though.
Dead projects about to be more profitable than when they was alive.
Ready to vote on this graveyard shift?
Time to hear the judges' verdicts on dead stones.
It's weird, it's unique, and it might just work. Pump.
Solid tech with cultural significance? Pump.
Gonna be the most lit graveyard ever. Pump.
Numbers work, concepts unique. Pump.
A unanimous pump. That's a first for Jin.
Time to start digging. Metaphorically, of course.
When BitConnect plots her.
That's all for this memorial episode of Block Tank.
Awesome.
Okay, so that was one simulation, and to go from the submission to the simulation being ready to watch and playing back in your browser takes about 15 to 20 seconds. But that's without human moderation, because while you could just have somebody submit a pitch and then instantly generate a show, it might be more fun if there's a lot of people that submit pitches and a community kind of votes on which ones they want to hear and decide which ones are going to get made into a show. And the same thing with the purple part down here. The purple represents human interaction in this chart. After the simulations ran, like I mentioned before, you can quality assure it. You can run the simulation again if you want to, or instead of just playing it back in that real-time visualization that I just showed, you could actually use it more like an animatic and just reanimate it and reimagine it at a higher production value in like Unreal Engine or something, and release the episode that way.
One second. Yeah. So we are, me and Sith and a bunch of other people working on 3D stuff. We have a lot of background and technical expertise when it comes to interoperability. And the schema for producing these shows, yeah, we could, you could think of this as kind of like the previs that could then get rendered with the kind of quality that you saw in the announcement. And I also think something that's kind of missing in this graphic is, this can play a part when it comes to tokenomics, such as in order to not only like reduce spam, but also incentivize like skin in the game for these pitches and pay for the token costs for like, the AI analysis. This is something that we can implement where you can spend tokens on for, if you want to pitch the judges, think of it as like kind of a fee for getting through the door.
Yeah, and in the chart, that's just loosely represented as these purple boxes, because you do want to review the submissions. You want a human reviewing that, making sure nobody's trying to cheat or do some kind of tricky prompt engineering to break out of the whole system. And at that same time, you could have submission fees, you can have voting, all that kind of stuff. Okay.
Go through another episode, maybe one where the judges weren't impressed.
I will do that. I have a couple joke pitches here. Now I have the art that you see in these simulations is placeholder art, because I'm not an artist, but this is just showing the system of it, and we would replace each scene with a high quality scene and switch up the characters how we need them, fix all the bugs and everything. But I just mentioned that because Jin's about to do a stupid pitch in this next episode, so don't hold it against AI Jin that I'm about to play for you.
Welcome back to Block Tank. Jin is here with an interesting gaming proposition.
I'm seeking $2 million for 10% of Jedi Chain, bringing Dark Forces 2 to Web 3.
You have Disney's approval for this?
We're in early talks, very early talks.
So that's a no. Continue.
Each level would be a unique NFT with force powers and lightsabers as tradable tokens.
Yo, fam, you trying to get that Mickey Mouse cease and desist speedrun?
Let's hear the technical implementation at least.
The judges seem concerned about the legal aspects.
They don't understand. Star Wars fans will love this.
But what about Disney's lawyers?
We could rebrand it as Space Knight, maybe.
That might not be enough.
The technology is solid, though.
Let's see if you can convince them of that.
Right. Focus on the tech, not the IP. Our blockchain handles 10,000 TPS for real-time lightsaber combat.
What chain are you building on?
A modified Solana fork with custom gaming modules.
And the game engine integration?
Show me the revenue model.
5% fee on all NFT trades, plus initial level pack sales.
Bruh, you're gonna get force choked by the Mouse House legal team.
We could pivot to original IP if needed.
The tech stack is interesting, but the IP issue is a deal breaker.
Could work with original IP, but that loses the Star Wars appeal.
My man's about to speedrun that bankruptcy any percent.
No established user base without the Star Wars name.
The blockchain implementation is solid, though.
Too many red flags. Disney doesn't play around.
Ripperoni and pepperoni, fam.
Time to end this.
Time for the judges' decisions.
The legal risk is astronomical. It's a dump from me.
Good tech, wrong IP approach.
Gonna be a dump from me, dog. Disney ain't playing.
Numbers don't work without the IP. Dump.
That's a unanimous dump.
But what if we called it Cosmic Forces?
Stop while you're ahead, kid.
Better luck next time on Block Tank.
I just gotta say, I think we need to implement the room turning green or red as well in the next version.
Yeah, and that picture that you shared as for the space, it stirred up a lot of ideas with like spotlights turning on the person as they judge them and all that. Okay, so what I'm showing right now is the personalities from the characters. So in this diagram, you see that there's this AI writer's room. So we have the ingredients. The ingredients are what makes up the show. We have the judges, we have the host, we have this whole format, and we have the pitcher and their pitch. And each episode has those ingredients. Those ingredients get fed through the AI writer's room, and the AI writer's room could be a single AI that thinks that it's like a show writer, or it could be a multi-agent thing where it's bouncing ideas and writing the script through more like through a sequence of talking to the other AIs. And in our case, we actually have AI personalities for some of the judges. So a multi-agent writer's room would make a lot of sense because these are actually, some of them have personality profiles on Eliza, and they can just go back and forth. The one that I have implemented right now is a single agent writer's room. So it thinks it's like a Hollywood writer, but it's given all the ingredients, and in the ingredients are the personality profiles for each of the judges. And that is what this is. This is the CMS I use to edit the characters and stuff. And that few paragraphs there, you can't see it all, it scrolls, but that's like a personality profile for Mark. There's also one for AI Shaw, and we're getting some together for people and DJ and Spartan. So they have kind of basic ones right now for the shows that we're running. But the more authentic that we can get the simulation, the more it's going to appeal to people because it fits their expectations.
Pretty good question from the audience, which is, what is the model risks logic underpinning their judgment?
So the person right now, it's just that single writer. So it's all in their personality profiles. That description from Mark here, it talks about, yeah. I'm just saying this personality profile talks about his expertise and what he cares about, and it goes on and on past what you see here. And that's what the AI uses to determine what his feedback is. And when the show's being written, all of the characters' dialogue is being considered, so they kind of influence each other too, and they can maybe talk each other out or into the other person's opinion in that deliberation room.
Maybe we can talk about ways people can contribute because,
I just want to say
yeah.
one more thing about the writer's room. So the multi-agent writer's room is where people are going to be able to feel like the generation is authentic, because when it's actual Eliza agents that have these personalities of these different characters, each one's going to be thinking on its own, and it's going to respond to the writer, and the writer is still going to compose with the back and forth, but the actual ideas and the judgments will come from a separate AI. So it's about as authentic as you can get as far as having a completely different agent give his input. Now, contributing, there's a whole multiple technical aspects to this. This show is based on a JSON format that's kind of interoperable. I visualized it in that 3D stage. I also have 2D stages that it could get visualized in, and that 3D stage, that was it's PlayCanvas. It's real time running in the actual client side browsers. So there's no video stream that has to happen. It's actually just playing back an event stream. It's rendering it all in the browser. There's also one of these shows based on the same JSON format that is visualized in Unity, and it has VRM support and Vizemes and all that kind of stuff, which we could eventually get into the PlayCanvas version too. But I'm just saying that there's different ways to visualize things, and that's one thing that if we need work on, because as you saw, those were just very simple. I'm going to mute this one as it plays through. We just have very simple placeholders for the environments, so they need to be professionally lit, and the other rooms need to be modeled, and it just needs to look a lot nicer. So art is definitely one place that people can contribute. The other part is actually a very interesting part, and it's that multi-agent writer's room. This was going to be the next thing I was going to play around with, but because it's kind of like a black box, you get the ingredients that come in, and no matter who writes this simulation, this writer's room, you got the same ingredients, you got the same judges, the same pitch, and it's all about what the output is of that simulation. So if somebody wants to take get a look at the ingredients and then write a multi-agent writer's room that bounces the ideas back and forth in a certain way, because there's lots of different ways to write these writer's room. That would be a component that we could just plug into this system, because we could swap out what that writer's room is. For the actual the real-time simulation, I added in some segues between scenes that talked about what they were, but the event stream tells whatever the visualizer is. I call it the stage. It tells the stage component all the events, like we're loading this show, and then we're loading this episode, and then we're loading this scene. So you could actually use those events to do all kinds of animations. So instead of just having the camera appear and everybody's already standing in the room, you can animate the person entering the room and have sound triggering in the environment when that happens and all that kind of stuff. Also, because this is being live simulated in the browser, VR support is actually on the table, because it's live running in PlayCanvas, and that supports VR. Even though you would be like somebody in the studio audience watching the show, you could still be in there and experiencing it like that.
Like that would make such a really cool, like even an audience experience, kind of like you're sitting on the benchers watching a live game show playing, kind of like instead of being on Twitter stages, you're watching people pitch AI agents their ideas or meme coins.
Yeah, and depending on the format. So the format that I've been laying out today is generating an episode, like having lots of submissions and going through all that process. So it's not like a live interaction thing. It's more like the person makes their submission, they have an agent created for them that pitches on their behalf. But you could do other scenarios where the generation happens mid-show if you wanted to interact with the person that was actually in the world, where maybe the viewer gets to vote, and then their vote gets thrown into the simulation for the second half of the episode. So you could break the simulation up to be in segments that are steered or guided by human interaction in between.
Maybe it can happen like right here at this part in like these back rooms.
Yeah. I mean, it would be really fun if the user was one of the judges. I didn't think of that until right now, but that would be a lot of fun because then everybody could, be one of the sharks. The thing about the user interaction is that it's going to give different results. You're going to have an impact. So it might not be 4 dumps if you convince people of your point of view that it was a good idea or something like that. So as far as the ratings go, you have to kind of look at them as like just a top level assessment. And that's why I actually picked 4 judges so there would be ties. Because you could run the simulation multiple, like over and over again. And often you're going to get the exact same results because there's personalities for each of the judges, but you don't always get the same results. If you run it 10 times, you might get 2 or 3 in there that they say pump instead of dump. So throwing the human element into that would make it vary a lot more because you can't predict what a human's going to say. It would be a lot funnier too. Well, depends on the human.
So true. Do we have any other questions or anything else people want to see? Yeah, I'll share notes afterwards. Twitch Play Shark. Yes, it could be like that. Except I was thinking that this makes sense for like the roles. So if you've got like a role for, depending on how much AI16Z or DGen AI, that maybe influences your voting for along with the um, agents as well.
This is a screenshot of PlayCanvas in case there's any developers out there watching. It looks very much like Unity. It's actually structured that way on purpose, so it'd be easy for people to move over from Unity. But unlike Unity, it's strictly a web engine. It doesn't even target standalone. So it makes it really nice for pulling in web tech because everything's running in JavaScript. So if you have to use an API to pull in any kind of metrics or something from an external server, it's just a fetch away. And the editor is multiplayer. These pages that I'm flipping through here, these are the visualizations of the shows. So it's like it visualizes the ingredients. Those are the same actors that are used in that other diagram as the ingredients. And these are just placeholder images for the environments, but those are the environments that the AI director has to choose from. And on the fly, like in between episodes, you can add additional characters or additional scene locations. And the director in that writer's room, it's aware of all these ingredients. So when you add a new scene and you explain to it what it could be used for, it'll work it into the script if it thinks that it's going to fit in somewhere. So you can change the season, change the show up each season. Also, depending on how heavy you want to do editing. So I like doing no editing because I just think it's more pure. It's like human versus AI when they just write the pitch and then what happens, happens. But if you wanted to do revisions, you could do it by hand in that screen I was showing a second ago that lists out all the dialogue in that table with drag and drop. Or you could have the AI do rewrites. And you could just explain to it how you want it to change and just regenerate the episode. You could tell it to add a new scene in. You could tell it to change somebody's attitude if you wanted to influence it that heavily. Pretty much whatever you wanted. And that's kind of why you have to be careful with the regeneration because you're guiding it. You're making it do what you want it to do instead of it being a true simulation.
All right, let's take a few more questions. And we got one where can you add public voting?
You can, but it depends on where you want to. It's like where you want to add it. So if you run the episode and then you want to wait for everybody to cast their vote, you could do that. And I would actually implement that as I would simulate all the possible outcomes and then let people vote, and however they voted would determine which of the outcomes gets played, because that's how their vote went. So you would be able to do it without having to do too much real-time prompt exchanging, because the main goal, one of the main goals of this was to avoid that delay between interactions, so it could just flow smoothly and instantly. So when you send prompts back and forth, there's usually that unnatural delay that I try to avoid. Cliffhanger episodes is also something, I don't know if it fits in directly into the Shark Tank parody, but if you end on a cliffhanger and everybody gets to vote, maybe creatively like open form, or they just have some multiple choice to choose, then you generate the next episode. Everybody that voted comes back to see if their vote won, and they want to see how it plays out. Kind of like choose your own adventure type books.
Any final questions? You want to do one more, Sith? One more show?
Sure. So after Jin's got dumped on the Dark Forces chain, the next episode he came back and he pitched a Marvel's IP thing, and it went just as well as the first one. Let's roll that one.
Jin has returned to Block Tank with a new pitch.
I'm seeking $3 million for 15% of Avenger Chain, bringing Marvel heroes to Web 3.
Didn't we just do this with Star Wars?
This is completely different. Marvel has a history with NFTs.
Through licensed partnerships, not random devs.
Fam really speedrunning that Disney lawsuit any percent?
We'll have tradable Thor hammers and Iron Man suits as NFTs.
Size, here we go again.
Jin, why come back with another Disney IP pitch?
Marvel is different. They're already in the NFT space.
But they do that through official channels.
We could partner with them eventually.
Did you learn anything from your last pitch?
Yes, that's why I picked a more NFT-friendly IP this time.
That's not quite the lesson they were suggesting.
Just wait until they see the tokenomics. Each Avenger will be a unique NFT with special powers and...
Stop, just stop. Have you contacted Marvel's legal team?
Well, not exactly, but...
So you learned nothing from last time.
But our blockchain can handle multiple heroes fighting Thanos.
Bruh moment intensifies.
Jin, this is the same legal issue as before.
We could call it Super Team Battles instead.
This is actually worse than the Star Wars pitch.
At least the technical implementation is still solid.
My man's really said let me catch all them lawsuits.
Complete waste of our time.
Should we even let him finish?
Maybe this will finally teach him about IP rights.
Betting he comes back with Disney Princess Chain next week.
Let's end this quickly.
Judges, your quick verdicts, please.
Dump. And please, no more Disney IP pitches.
Dump, build something original next time.
Massive dump, my guy. Touch grass.
Dump. Don't come back without original IP.
But what about a Nintendo chain?
No.
And that's another unanimous dump on Block Tank.
Someone hide the Pokemon from this man!
Okay, I saw somebody ask, were those edited at all? No, those were all one shots. All that I did was pasted in the pitch and just let it go, and that's just what it came out with. You notice they were talking about the previous episode, and that's because the system, along with those ingredients, it has the episode history. And if you give the simulation the episode history, the writer or the multiple writers, however you make up that writer's room, they're aware of everything that happened in the past. So that's why they already knew Jin, and they were making fun of him for coming there twice with the same idea.
All right, I think that wraps it up for a great demo. We're almost at 30 minutes as well. It does build canon thank you, Sith, for amazing presentation, and thanks everyone for joining. It was very short notice. I recorded it. I'll summarize and upload for people that missed it. But yeah, and then we'll talk tokenomics later. So I'll catch everyone later. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, everybody.